Yeah, we're going to get started. As typical Finns, we like to start on time. And so it is 12 o'clock, and so we are going to start. I'm Harvey Barber, I'm the current president of the Coquito Finnish American Historical Society. We are looking for volunteers to take my position over, so if you're interested, let us know. But we're all family here, and so I want everybody to realize that. So things don't always go totally smooth, but we try to go smooth, and we don't do any rehearsals or anything like this. So, but it should be an interesting program here. We're going to start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you could stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you can be seated. And then we will be remember the words that are on the screen. Okay.
I don't know why it stopped. Some of the vets are still living and some have passed. Some served in battle zones and some were a valuable part of the support groups working assorted jobs behind the lines that keep the armed forces ready to battle. And today for our program, we're going to be honoring a father and 3 sons, the soldiers of the Keskey family, and a Finnish general. And the program is basically a PowerPoint presentation. And the moderators will be stories from the families, and Susie Keskey is going to be the moderator. And where's Susie? Well, that's hope. Behind the screen, I can't see her. And we get
Are you
real
gonna-
mics here.
Well, are you starting the program now? Yeah. This has been really a fun experience putting this whole thing together. I've learned a lot. I didn't know much about the soldiers, but with a lot of people's help, we got the whole thing together. So we're going to be honoring the veterans. There are 5 different veterans and there are 5 different wars. When you look at the Keskey family, it's a father and 3 sons, and they all fought in different wars. Now, if you wonder how that happened, well, that happened when the Keskeys had 5 children, 5 years apart. And then we did the Pajari soldier. Oh, yeah. When I'm putting together these pictures, I first found the first one, and that's somebody in World War I. So he's got a pail, so I thought he was out there scrubbing, you know? Well, then I get to Roger's picture over here. This is the Marines, and they got a pail too. So somebody's got to tell me, what do you use the pails for?
Drinking water.
Raj was right there.
No.
What?
No, in the army.
And there aren't pails. Why did the veterans have to have a pail? And why did the soldiers have to have a pail? I don't know.
I just said water.
You don't hear. What did you say?
I just said carry water.
Carry water. Well, I don't know. I just figured maybe when you went to the shower and you had wet towels, whatever, you put them in there. I don't know. Let me know if you find out. Okay, World War I, 1814, 1914. This is Ernest Keskey. This is his display over here. And this would be my father-in-law. Okay. He was born in 1899. He lived in Wakefield, Michigan. At the age of 20, he went into the service. I don't know if he was drafted or not, but the draft system was put in place during the Revolutionary War. Not that they used it all the time, but it was there. His estimated duty was from 17 to 19. I don't think he was ever sent overseas because he was coming in at the end of the war. And when he was discharged, he returned to Michigan and he worked in a general store. And he married a Minnesota girl, Mamie Pajari. And so if you wonder how we latch on to this general Pajari, that's how we kind of latched on to him. Okay, let's go. This is one of the first pictures that we found over here. On the display is Ernest's scrapbook. It's 100 years old, and that's where I got these pictures from. We had to figure out what this symbol was. That's for the engineer battalion. Okay, Ernest, these patches are from his army uniform. I don't know what the the first one, I don't know what that is, and it might have been a one for his band. The red one, come on, somebody help me, I have no idea. You know what the red one is for?
That's a VFC flag.
The red?
Yes.
Okay. And the 3 stripes is for his sergeant grade. Okay, this is the band. He always bragged about playing in the band. And so he's way, way over there. In the second row, and the second one in. Third one in, I think we figured out. Okay. This is his trumpet, and this is his trumpet. So that's 100 years old. There is engraving on it, and we can't really read it too well. If you've got better eyesight than me, we'll find. All right. This is, in the book, he labeled some things under the pictures, and this is how we found out. where it was. This is the National Army Camp at Lewis, Washington. Now that's way over by Seattle. Okay. Yep, every camp they have to practice. Somebody told me a parade once a week, no matter who's there, who's looking. And you see behind, it says Gold Medal Flowers. They're training them young. That's what they're doing. Okay, this is a fellow soldier, and this is what their uniforms or their whatever were like. Okay. Yep. This is they have time for recreation too. So this guy, I think, is the catcher. So his stuff is down below. And somebody said this picture is staged because those cameras, 100 years old, did not catch motion like that. Since they were the engineering corps, they had to do something, so they're out there building a bridge. Okay, now you see the stuff underneath, it looks like they floated the bridge on a boat. Okay. And also they're out there surveying land. It's an engineering corps. Now, we found this picture and these are World War I. I think one is Ed Hill, and I don't know who the other one is. But I thought just because it's World War I. Okay. Now, we're going to World War II. This is Melvin. Okay, he also was born in Wakefield. At the age of 11, they moved to Cokato. And I'll tell you why they moved to Cokato. Because Wakefield was just too rowdy for Mamie to raise her kids. They grew up on the farm, like Cokato Lake. He went to Checkers Corner School from 8th grade, graduated in 45, and was drafted at 19. Okay. Oh, isn't he handsome? A Ray, I had no idea. Did you find it? Okay, private first class. Rebecca gave me this stuff. There's a big scrapbook up here. It's kind of falling apart, but there's a lot of good pictures in there. His basic training was at Fort Bragg. He went to France, and he went to Germany, and his tour duty was from 45 to 49. Rebecca helped me put this whole thing together, and she'll be up in just a second here. He was the 82nd Airborne, and right here, this is his baseball hat. Okay? Now, this is a picture when he got into France, and it said Orly Field. I don't know where Orly Field is. I had to look it up. It's near Paris, and I think it started as a military base, basically, and now it's more public. It's not needed as much for the military. He just called this plane a big boy. I don't know if it transported equipment or it transported personnel. I have no idea. All right. Wow, this is a presidential airplane, the Air Force One, early years, you know. It's called Sacred Cow. That came in at Orly, and so it must have come in while he's there taking the pictures. And this is what he wrote on the back of it. And that's the only time we really had stuff where he wrote on the pictures. It says this is the presidential airplane, and that Burns came in instead of the president, and I do believe he was the Secretary of State. Who's going to guess who was the president? No guess? Truman, right. Okay. Back up, are you going to do stuff?
Well, no, that was next one.
Okay. All the kids said and I heard this from a lot of them, that Dad never talked much about the service. And so we're just kind of putting pieces together. They said he handed out paychecks. So when I saw this, is that Orly Field? And it says finance office, and I thought, well, you have to get the paychecks in someplace, so I put it there. Okay, and this is his pass. He was gonna go sightseeing. And there his pass, he's going to Paris. And guess what he's standing next to? Eiffel Tower, yep. It's a funny picture, that's the best we could do. Oh, this is a cousin from Wakefield. And when we sent the newsletter to probably the only Keskey that's in Wakefield, and he sent it to his great aunt, I believe it was. She got so excited that she sent a video back of when they went to this cemetery and they took pictures of the tulip pistol graves. So that was interesting to get that. And that lady, what is she, 94? She's all excited. Okay, he actually did get to Germany. And that's the only picture that we have of Germany. Okay? Whoa, packed up and ready to go home. Yep, they are. Okay, waiting to get your equipment loading. Okay. Oh, good, thank you. Seating quarters are pretty tight here. But that's on the ship coming home, so who cares? And guess where he is now? He's home. Okay. Okay, now, there. Come on.
Say it first.
Come on. This is your back.
Oh, the only thing Dad told us was when he was in Germany, he was actually in Hitler's bunker after it was blown up. And when he was in there, he's digging around and he found some German medals.
Metal.
But that's all I know, because he didn't talk too much after that. Hi, come here. Come here.
So when he was there, so when he was in getting the medal, because the Russians were there taking over, and the Americans were just helping. And apparently this Russian soldier came up to him like, get out of here. He just swore at him in Russian, so he just said, we didn't talk about doing it, swear.
Well, he had that gun.
Yeah, he got an M16 pointed.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of out with the pointing guns at him. But see, he was at the end of the war, so when he went there was no reason for him to be in battle because he was just on the cleanup. So, okay, let's move to Earl. Okay, he was born in Wakefield, Michigan too. He moved at the age of 6 to Cokato. He went to Timbers Center through 8. Went to Cokato, graduated, 49, and worked at the First National Bank until he was drafted at the age of 20. Okay, this is Earl. Sorry about the little water spots, but Donnie is the one that dug up all these pictures, and there are more, but we put what we had. Okay, tour duty was from 51 to 53. Okay, we put this in here because this is where he went to work, right out of high school. And he worked there until he drafted. So do you remember that building in town? It's kind of still there. Sign is down. Okay, Fort Benning, that's where he went. Oh, he's riding home. Good for him. Must be warm. This is a home away from home. I think this is part of basic training. I'm really not sure. Okay, and here's Luncheon Boyd, and he said that he had a fine bunch of coats. This is a shoulder patch for his unit, for the infantry unit. Somebody told me the follow me means something. I don't know. Oh, huh. He said on top of that picture he put slow down. And I thought, well, man, look at that guy with the long legs. And he's got short legs. What do you expect? Okay, and somebody must have been talking about what was your ammunition because he put his cannon there. This is a bunch of late pictures that we got, and they were really interesting. These are his fellow soldiers. This is on site in Korea. Now, we'll let Donnie tell part of the story, but there's nobody there. At one time, he worked in the office, but he was also more on the battlefront. Okay. Yeah. Oh, what's under the sandbag? I don't know. But it's a good picture, and it looks like everybody gone. They left him to guard the whole place. Okay, when I look at this picture, and then I think about the war that they fought, just look at up, down, you know, it was really rough terrain. Okay. This is his brown star, and it is right here. And he got this for his office job. He did an office job, and he did a really good job. Okay, now, Donnie's turn. Oh wait, Chuck, where's Chuck? Is he here? He's way back. You want to tell your story? About how he got recruited? Remember? Okay, we'll let Donnie go.
Oh, well, I just heard about the story recently, but he evidently was working on a farm, milking cows, and the president of the First National Bank went to school and asked the principal that, I need somebody that's good at math. So they took out the files of all the kids. I don't know if you can do that anymore, take out the files and show everybody. But they went through and they found out he was good at math and they could type. So then the president went to the farm and he's in there milking cows and he went and talked to him and told him, why don't you come work at the bank? So that was his story of how he got into banking. And I heard that story, but somebody else had more of the details. So yeah, so Susie, you know, she amazes me, the perseverance she had putting this all together. But hold on, let me grab my glasses here a second. So a little bit about my dad, and like Becky and Mary said, he didn't talk a lot about his time in the service. There were maybe 2 or 3 stories I've heard kind of ad nauseum over the years. But he, as was mentioned here, he went into the service at 20 in June of '52. And he was assigned to Fort Benning. He went into the 3rd Division, which 3rd Infantry Division, which has got a nickname called the Fire Brigade. And within that division, he was working the 58th Field Artillery Battalion headquarters. And the specialty of that battalion, I did some research, the specialty of the 58th Field Artillery Battalion was the 105mm gun, which you saw in the picture. And their mission really was to destroy, defeat, or disrupt the enemy with integrated fire to enable maneuver commanders to dominate and unify land operations. So what does all that mean? Using support. So artillery, you're back behind the front lines, throwing shells to where they need them up front to stop the enemy, so on and so forth. And he had some stories where he would, they'd have to sometimes run a supply mission up to the front line. And as you saw, the picture is really hilly. And so they're driving these big trucks, I don't know what they call them. You know, boots and a half. And they have blackout lights on them because they're going up the hill, down the hill. Well, the enemy could see these lights. So they put blackout shades in front of the light. And so all that would do is it would shine the light like straight down in front of you. And you couldn't see exactly where they're going. But anyways, they got to the front lines, delivered their supplies, and they had to spend the night there. And during the night, the enemy started shelling their location. Well, they're in these canvas tents, and canvas is a very good protection against shrapnel. So they all were running out, diving into these foxholes they had dug. And on the bottom of this foxhole, somebody had left a chunk of 2x4. and he cracked it across his nose here. So of course he had to tell us that story because he always had that scar there. So that's why he had, where'd you get this scar from, Dad? Okay, here's the story. So that was one of the stories we would hear. And then he came, then he was always proud of his typing skills. Okay? He claimed he was like, he was a state, some typing contest. And he could type really good at Brookhaven High School. So he went to state. And he always bragged about his typing skills. Well, he said when he was in the Army, when he first got there, they landed in Hwasong, which is on the east side of Korea. And at that point, it was towards the end of the war, and the Allies were on a kind of a controlled retreat back to the DMZ where it is today, on 38th. So he supported that when he first got there, so he actually got to the chosen reservoir as I was following their, and then they helped pull back. And he spent his time on right near the DMZ where he camped. But he said his commander, his XO, all of a sudden realized he could type. So he said, hey, I need you in the office. So growing up, my siblings probably remember too, he always said, you take typing, did you sign up for typing? You saved my life. And so all the way through till he passed away a few years ago, he would talk about his typing skills. And I remember in the bank, as a kid, working with him. And he had this old manual typewriter, and I remember he could fly on that thing. And so it's kind of interesting when I was watching him type. Other than that, let's just see here if there's anything. Oh, that as the word. So the armistice was signed in July 27, 53 in Korea. And he was there from January of 53, and he got discharged in January of 54. So then they went to, they were 3rd Division out, 3rd Infantry Division out of Korea at that time. He ended up in Japan, in Yokohama. And he was always so proud of, he really was 22, and he thought to buy this Noritake China set. I mean, how many 22-year-old boys would think of buying nice, fancy Noritake China? So I bought it, sitting right here. We got to use it whenever we had really fancy company that Roger was doing it or something. And I don't know. So I think my sisters have been fighting over that set or something. Anyways, so he was in Yokohama. There's a hotel there called the Grand Hotel, if you ever been to Yokohama. And it's where MacArthur stayed. That was basically the president, the White House of the East, as MacArthur called it. So MacArthur basically ran Asia for the Americans in World War II until he got relieved. And I've been to the Yokohama Hotel, there's a room in there now. It's a glass, cane glass. You can look inside that room and see exactly how MacArthur had it. And I was over there for work, and I texted home, whatever, and so yeah, my dad, of course, said, yeah, I was there. So I was at, later he told me that he actually was in that same hotel. So 65 years later, that hotel's still there, and I've been there. I told him I looked for his name scratched on the wall somewhere, but I didn't find it. But anyways, yeah, so as they say, he never really talked a lot about the war. It was, the last thing I'll say is, I suppose he looked at it as a job, as work. He was gone for work. And I got the fortunate or maybe unfortunate experience to travel overseas for work too. And you get home and people would think, oh, did you go here, did you go there? No, I went to work and came home. There's nothing really to talk about anymore. Now, his work obviously was a lot different than what pushing pencils, like using an active war here. So these guys never talked about much, but 2 weeks before he passed away, as you know, my mom and dad spent the summers in Rabbit Bay, and I was up there with my family, and I have a son-in-law who's in the Air Force, and he started asking my dad, some questions, and he started telling some stories that I'd never heard before. And I thought, I don't know if there's some kinship there, you know, military type of thing. But he told some stories about being in Korea, and he was in the personnel, but he would write the telegrams. Go home to parents and sorry, your son is KIA, sorry, your son's MIA. But he said he never would sign them because he said, when I got back to the States, I didn't want any of those parents trying to find me. They say, what really happened to my son? He always makes XO sign it. And he told us, he said, you know, I've seen body parts in places body parts shouldn't be. So he basically would go after they take a hill, they'd go up his ear, would go out at times, and then bring back the casualties. So, you know, that was 2 weeks before he passed away, and I'd never heard that story. So it's kind of, it was fairly fascinating. So all of you that are in the audience who have served in the military, you probably understand some of that stuff more than I would that's never served, but and I just want to say personally thank you for your service to those that have served in the military.
Now, I have one Earl story, and this is mainly for the ladies. Because Earl told me that one day he went down to the mess hall to eat. And he's watching them making the eggs, the bacon, whatever, and he looks in the very back, and there's a square box, and it says eggs on it, and it says Johnson Produce Cocato. So how did they get over there, and how long do the eggs last in your refrigerator? I know. All right, we're going to move on to Vietnam, and this is the time that Roger spent there. He went in Marine Reserves. Roger's got a story about that too. Basic training in California. Then he went into the reserves, so he was in a long time because he was serving in the reserves every 2 weeks. Couldn't find much, but he gave me his book. Okay. This is what every